Welcome back from Sports Updates with Ruben Mpima Kasera Chibirango. And it is now an extension of Good Morning Uganda, which is Good Morning Uganda Extra. I'm Robert Chirapo Nyonyitono. Can't get tired or worry of thanking you for being part of our morning show, our ardent viewers. Thank you so much from the hour of 6:30 till now in Good Morning Uganda. We appreciate that. And please, in case you miss any segment, you can just go to our YouTube channel and you'll be able to follow us. You can rewind, you can forward, you can get that fun, that bit that you could have missed. Now it is exactly 10 minutes past 10 a.m. this morning, and we are going to be looking at, that is, urbanization and urban planning. And joining me on set this morning is a gentleman who's an expert when it comes to issues of transportation and urban planning, and that is Sam Stewart Mutabazi. You're most welcome to our show.
Thank you so much. I'm very glad to be here on UBC once again after about 10 years. I was last here maybe around 2012. So it's been a long time. And I must commend you that UBC has really transformed and changed, especially in terms of graphics. Your graphics are actually some of the best on the TV in Uganda. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, you're most welcome. Now let's begin by understanding, when we talk about urbanization, this is a talk we've had. Planned urbanization, planned city, planned this. Let's understand, what are we referring to? Because this is something we want to dive in, of course not leaving any of our viewers behind, not really understanding what you're referring to.
Okay, so urbanization is it's a broad term which is so common, and many people think that they understand it, but actually many times they miss what urbanization means. And I want to introduce a new term. The new term is called agglomeration. Agglomeration means things that are packed together, that are compact. And it comes about because it's the opposite of a village or a rural area. Now, when it comes to development of a country, there is no country that has ever developed without urban areas. And development as we know it must be organized. So what is agglomeration? Agglomeration means that people come together and find services and goods in one area. In villages or in rural areas, you have areas that are sparsed. People live, someone lives here, another travel distance, you find someone there. And so if you need goods and services, it becomes very difficult. So agglomeration means that people are living in close proximity, close together with each other, and therefore they get services easily, because if you want food on a hotel, you can access a hotel. If you want education, you go to a university. If you want a hospital, it's near. All of these services are just close to each other where people live. So that is an urban area. An urban area is different from a rural area because you have so many people living close to each other. And so this calls for for orderliness. When you have an urban area which does not have order, then development pervades you. You find that it is very difficult for people actually to be, for the country to realize development. And that's where we have been. That you have, most of our urban areas are actually in a mess. Yes, we have, the common factor for urban areas is too many people, and that's what we have. We have a lot of people in an area, but people are living in a disorganized way. So how did we reach here? It's because we've not deliberately made a plan of how we can organize our transport, how we can organize our settlements, how we can organize our services for people to be able to access them very easily. And that's partly why what has brought me here to discuss this issue.
Okay, talking about first, let's look at the status currently. How are we doing as a country when we look at urban centers? if in Uganda, if you're in a place 10 years ago and you go back today, I guarantee you even some of these areas, even some of these rural, what we would term as rural areas, actually are having mushrooming urban centers. So as a country, how are we doing in terms of having order or planned developments?
Now, there are five key issues that I want to highlight. And the first one is indeed we've not agglomerated, we've not got the benefits of agglomeration, of living together. We've not yet harnessed those advantages because there are so many. So the second one is that we don't have a unified voice. Every person is speaking from their own corners, including the policymakers, including the city managers, including the government, the central government, and the local government themselves. So we seem to be like people who were, the Israelites who were coming from Egypt, and they were lost on their way. They didn't know exactly what they need to do. And so there is need for some people who are champions on what exactly we should do. And these should be the torch bearers. People who will hold the torch so that the other people can keep looking at the way and follow through. One of the things is because we don't know who is the leader and what is the message, the key message about where we are going in terms of our urban areas, we tend to move in circles. You've seen sometimes we build this, tomorrow we are breaking it, tomorrow we are doing this, and tomorrow we are. So we need to have a vision of where the cities are going. What type of cities we want, how are we going to get them, and bring people on board for people to follow us.
Stuart, this brings me quickly to ask. When you talk about us being at almost rotational but no success achieved, we look at institutions that we've put in place to address this. We have city authorities, we have local governments, and this doing anything tangible, or where is the problem?
The problem is, first of all, that one, we are overwhelmed. We are overwhelmed by the problems of the cities, especially Kampala. Yes, if you were a leader, where do you start from? At some point, when we were working with the Jennifer Musisi before, which she tried to do a good job based on her individual capacities, I used to wonder if you were appointed the manager today of the city, and someone asked me that question, where do you start from? Some people say we will start with chasing border borders. Others say we will raise down some buildings which are not okay. Others say we will build the roads and etc. Now, because there is nobody who knows, and I think people have not taken time to think through what are the most pressing challenges of the city and how can we deal with them. That has been one of the greatest problems. But also, secondly, you have lack of clear power and guidance. Sometimes I think the power is supposed to rely with the city authorities, for instance. But you see, you have government and central government hovering over. Sometimes they say, oh, no, we are going to register border borders. The central government comes and say, no, stop. We must be guided by the laws and regulations. What does the law say? Are these border borders regulated in the city? Can they just keep on operating without any regulation? Is it possible? Or is it helpful? What law guides the taxis in the city? All these, the first one is that there is no clear guidance, clear authority. You have the executive director of KCCA, you have the council, not clear, not very sure. Even the law is not very clear in terms of how the council is supposed to guide the development of the city. You have the executive director, you have the mayor, who are always clashing. You don't know who is supposed to do what. Then you have the wananchi. Today, if you come, you say you close the taxi park, the old taxi park for renovation. How was that decision arrived at? And what is the long-term plan for that taxi park? Why would you have a taxi park in downtown Kampala where there are no even roads? The roads were closed. How do taxis move from there? How do people move from that area to other areas? If you are moving into and out of town, how do you access that place? So you have the chain of command, the chain of decision making is very much wanting. It's like we are in a quagmire, we are in a confusion of who exactly takes lead, who makes decisions. It shouldn't be an individual, it should be a system led by individuals who should base themselves on systems and structures and laws and regulations. And after they have done that, they call on the masses and act in the best interest of the people. We are doing this for your own good. Once you tell people that we are doing this for your own good, everyone will support it. The only challenge is that sometimes we come and we want to use force. Today we are pushing people off the streets, those who are trading, and you've not told them anything. What do you expect them to do? And the next time they are coming back. And the next time government is saying, first hold on. So what are we supposed to do? What are people supposed to do? The path of the city should be very clear. Some cities have 50 years plans of how they expect their cities to look like. And they pull people along to move with them on that long journey. So what is our journey as Kampala, for instance? Where do we want to be in the next 50 years? All these should be clear to the leaders, to the government, and to the people who are led. And that is what is missing.
Well, do we have repairable damage, or can we still? Because when you look at some countries, when you go to Tanzania, you see that they transferred a capital.
Yes.
When you go to Nigeria, they reached an extent and transferred a capital. For Uganda's case, many have urged that maybe this condensing of everything here, are you in for ensuring we organize what we have, or we have another area and we start with the modern allocation planning? Because today we have the Kampala Metropolitan Plan. Of course, it has some years to ensure that they have achieved that. But even with this, KC having launched it, I'm not seeing anything tremendous. It seems like business as usual. And the loopholes are still, whatever was a problem to what we have today, I mean, envisaging, seeing it in even this plan. Still, when you go to the district of Wachiso, where apart from these architects and city planners clamping on those buildings without plan, you still have the funny structures. Those who have plans still violating here and here. So is it for, do I advocate for new? Can we correct? What must we do?
No, thank you so much for that question. And this is really what we stand for. And this is what we are trying to what we are going to push for in the coming years. That it's untenable to keep Kampala as the capital city, but also as the commercial and the center of Uganda's, it's the heartbeat of Uganda. And it's long overdue to bring all the services into the city, because it's not manageable. Uganda, by its size, it's one of the countries with only one city. Kampala today has a daytime population of about 3.5 million to 4 million people. The next biggest city in Uganda is Mbarara now, with about 150,000 people. The difference is so great. Why is it so? Because all the services are packed in Kampala. One of the first things which really worries me, which worried me some time back, was about the Parliament of Uganda. You have Parliament built in at independence, and recently they tried to expand and they are putting up a new chamber. Now this is a parliament that is going to bring about 500 and 600 almost 600 MPs, together with their cars, together with the staff, together with everybody. And they are all coming into the city center to transact business. The business of parliament should be out of the city. Because if you bring 500, each of them have cars, together with drivers, together with
some have escorts.
Some have escorts, exactly. So all these descend into the city every single day.
Lead cars come into the city all.
At minimum 500 cars. Those are for MPs, excluding the staff. So why are we advocating for a new city? The first thing to be out of the city should be the parliament. If parliament is taken out of the city, you would have some breathing space. And development will automatically follow the parliament wherever it will be. If it is placed in Mbarara or placed in Nakasongora or placed in Gulu, that would relieve on the pressure of Kampala. But it will also give a chance to other cities to grow. You are distributing the growth. Yes, Kampala today owns about 65% of the GDP of the entire country. But the other cities are not growing. And people are continuously flocking in. And as if that is not enough, they flock into a city that is not being planned or ready to receive all these people that are coming in. So we are for changing the capital city. All these government agencies that are based in Kampala should really be relocated somewhere else, so that Kampala should remain the main commercial center. And then give other cities a chance to grow. You have an example, for instance, of two entities. We should look for entities that have high human density. And those are the ones we should actually try to move out of the city. You have the Ministry of Internal Affairs, for instance. If you've been there on Old Port Bell Road, and you have hordes of people that come in to look for passports every day. Too many people jamming, cars, everything packed in that area. Why is it that we can't move that service to somewhere else? Because people can easily move. If you place that service out of the city, you are trying to decongest. The reason why we say you discongest the city is because a city that is easy to navigate, when people are able to move, mobility, it's attractive even to investors. Which investor would want to come and invest in this city where you spend 2 hours to move from Mulago to UBC? Here, this is a distance of less than 5 kilometers. And it is still expanding. That's the irony. So you have, there is also what is called urban sprawl. When the city keeps on, because the people are coming in and they don't have where to settle, they settle on the peripheries. And it keeps expanding, but the services are remaining within the center. So people today are living in Kayunga, and they drive every morning to the center of the city. How do you control that? You would rather take the services away and try to decongest the city so that people can keep coming. And we are having very less in terms of FDI, foreign direct investments. People who would want to come and invest in Kampala are less, precisely because of the disorganization.
Now, with that well explained, I must commend you for that. But let's look at alternatives that government has tried in one way or the other. One of them was new cities.
Yes.
You know, it was so joyous for the people of Mbale. We saw my friends in Masaka. I called one and like, tourist city, we've woken up. Some thought even the environment, maybe it was going to rain or something new was going to happen. But over a spell of time, it has been disappointment to some of them.
Yes.
The landlords are telling them, you're now in a city status, I need more money. but they're not seeing anything out of the city that they failed. Maybe when people heard of New 7 cities, people thought that services are coming closer, you know. We are going to be like Kampala, a friend of mine told me, Masaka. Now we are going to be like Kampala because we are now a city. In terms of urbanization, decongestion, do you think this, and we see more craving for more cities to get city status, is this a solution to the current problem, or is it just increasing cost of administration and maybe tax to a certain extent?
Yeah, the creation of cities was a good move, but a good move that is not followed by any tangible action. Very exciting. We've had one city since Uganda was created, Kampala. Kampala is also relatively new, created around 1940s. And the city is basically new. And if you look at its population, by the way, in 1962 at independence, Kampala had only about 170,000 people. So the creation of these cities was a welcome move. However, there was no plan. It was ad hoc. You didn't have some people to sit and think through and determine how are these cities going to move. One of the first things which I want to disabuse from our leaders is pushing, taking the issue of money first. Everybody talks about money, money, money. Planning is not about money. It can't be. It's just about, if you look at the homes where we grew up, we didn't have most of these fancy things. But sometimes you go to a home and you find the home is organized in its own poor way. You find the path is well cut, the hedge is cut, you have where to put the saucepans, you have where to put the plates. That simplicity is what should be replicated in a city. So when leaders, always, every time you have mayors of cities and urban managers, beginning with the statement, we lack funds, know that those people are really up to their own ambitions. Cities are run based on good ideas. And when you have good ideas, the city will automatically get money. We've seen it in most of the... There is no city in the world that had money, all the money it wants. You grapple with a lot of challenges, especially when you leave some of them to become bigger. So the issue of saying, you know, Kampala doesn't have a budget, the budget has remained small and etc. No. So people were excited about the idea of creating cities, thinking that this would come with a lot of monies. It didn't. But secondly, the areas which were being prepared for city status were not prepared enough to be told that this is how you are going to move. And so some of them tried to create boundaries. Creating boundaries is just a small thing. The hard stuff is in designing a program or a plan of where you want to take your city. For instance, I've told you about clamoring for money. You don't need to tarmac all the roads in the city at once. Some roads may need some tarmac, yes, if you have the money, but make sure that you have enough space for the roads. And that wouldn't need a budget.
Not people constructing in the road reserves.
So, you wait for people to come and build and close the road, and then when you have the money, you come to say, oh, we don't have compensation. It doesn't cost money for a city to plant trees. The budget is minimal. And those are the things that make a city. It doesn't cost a city to create spaces, open spaces. It doesn't cost money. All you need is to tell people that we are moving into this, we want a greener city. So if you have built and built and built, where will you plant the trees? Because they are important. You need spaces for people to have, you need a city that breathes. Although earlier on I told you about agglomeration, you must create spaces that are empty, either with trees or with grass. If you create a city that is only concrete, then there will be heat wave and it will have catastrophic consequences. So I would want to, people have realized now that the issue they were clamoring for has actually become not like it was a balloon which has burst. And it's time for us to go back and ask ourselves, how are we going to move these cities forward in a better way?
That is very interesting. How are we moving in a better way? Many still have hopes. We need city status. Now some that have gotten this city status, things want that. Still there are a number of challenges, but let's go for a short break. When we come back, we'll still be looking at how best do we organize what we have, or what could be the solution to these unplanned, uncoordinated developments that have caused disorder and unbecoming sins when we move in some of these cities. We'll return shortly.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
National Council for Higher Education will hold the 4th Annual Higher Education Conference on the 14th and 15th September 2022. The conference theme is Enhancement of Teaching, Learning and Assessment with Ordeal in Higher Education. The guest of honor will be the First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, Honorable Janet Kataha Museveni. The conference will be held physically at Hotel Africana for only invited guests and open to online participants via Zoom webinar that will be shared under the events section at www.unche.or.ug. The keynote speakers are Ezra Nazim, Senior Fellow of Higher Education Academy UK, Professor Henk Gerald Sola, a Dutch organizational theorist and Emeritus Professor of Business, Engineering and ICT at Groningen University, the Netherlands. The National Council for Higher Education is receiving papers from researchers and scholars for publication in the Uganda Higher Education Review, Journal of National Council for Higher Education. For more details, send inquiries to cmuhumuza@unche.or.ug, info@unche.or.ug, or call 0783 040024 or 0704 800926 +256 39 32 62 140/4.
We can't tolerate sexual harassment.
Sexual harassment is unacceptable in our school.
Because a good school equals a better life.
Raising voices.
Forget last season. Forget the oohs and the ahs. Forget every moment that stole the show. Because the real show is here on GoTV. It's the new season. It's action-packed and it's going to be non-stop football. With over 1,000 games from more than 7 leagues and cup competitions plus a World Cup. Make sure you get the best seat in the house this new football season. Get a GoCoder with 1 month of GoTV value for only 25,000 Uganda shillings and enjoy non-stop football. GoTV Uganda. Love it.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera. Refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that short break. It is still Good Morning Uganda Extra, and we are focusing on urbanization. Can Uganda achieve the sustainable? That is what we look at in terms of how orderly, how organized are these developments, more so in these cropping up urban centers, but also even our capital city. Now, we've looked at the problem. We've dissected it. We've explained causes and all these challenges. Let's now move into something that is practical solutions.
Thank you. The first thing is to go back on the drawing board and first map out our challenges and start small on which we can work on that would have bigger impact. Of course, Kampala has, for instance, flooding. It has issues to do with poor planning. It has human settlements that are not pleasant, etc. It has borders, transport. We have to look for solutions for amongst all those sea of challenges. And the solutions, nobody should ever lie to you that the solutions of developing cities lies from outside.
But we always go and benchmark.
That is it. That's
we've traveled to this city, we've traveled to this city to see how they were able to do it. We want to do it the same way or even better.
That's where we got it wrong, and it's time to come back. Home solutions are always better solutions than foreign. We've had most of these development partners since independence. Actually, at independence, Kampala City, I don't know whether you are seeing the city of Kampala was much better organized at independence than it is today. Yet, the development partners at that time were far less active compared to what they are today. So 60 years since.
One of the people have said the population also matters.
Of course,
60 years who are in Kampala. It was just a city of 7 hills.
And that's what I'm exactly explaining, that if you have the city development must move in tandem with the population. The urban infrastructure which was there in 1962 should have been improved by now. But we've not done so. So we must develop homegrown solutions. Not everything should be championed by World Bank and IMF. Yes, they may give some money and some advice, but we don't have to take wholesale. And I want to give you one example, which is very dear to my heart. There is what is called the Kampala Flyover Project, which was conceived and brought, and it is being built by the Japanese, spearheaded by JICA. The Flyover Project is a project that is supposed to build a high-rise kind of road. The road is hardly 1 kilometer, and it starts at Clock Tower. It ends at around the Electoral Commission. That roundabout. Basically, there is a small road that will go up to the roundabout of Garden City. Hardly 1 kilometer, and you are putting a concrete, and you are calling that a road. And one of the ways they convinced the government was that they are trying to decongest the city. Very embarrassing.
Because it does.
It doesn't, because it picks traffic from a very congested area, it drops it in a very congested area. And it was done, appraised, and brought into the country, and technocrats convinced, the Japanese convinced the government that this is the best solution. You can't decongest the city from within the city. If you want to decongest the city, then the roads should be out of the city, not within.
But roads must interconnect.
Yes, and it's not interconnecting. That's the problem. The good thing we had at some point, we were getting it right. For instance, when we did the Northern Bypass.
The Entebbe Express Highway.
The Entebbe Express, it has also its issues, which I will not go into. Maybe next time we'll have to go through it. But you have like that flyover, that you have already a city that is congested, and you are bringing in a what you call a road that is modern, but costing a lot of money, and you are placing it in the city. Now what you are trying to do is, areas like Nansana, Gayaza, or Bweyogerere, or wherever, which don't have roads, the cars will move from there to come and drive on this high-rise road, because that's the only road we shall be having. But is it going to add any value to the country's GDP? Almost zero. It is actually taking away.
One will tell you mobility is one of the ways that quick access, saving time, you may not easily quantify it, but if you do, then it has a trickle-down effect into the economy, definitely. So if this is going to ease movement in any way, where maybe one would spend, for example, there are certain roundabouts here where you can spend even an hour or 45 minutes. So how much of that time is saved if you have to quantify it in terms of money? Is something that is...
Yeah, and I agree with you that you need mobility is one of the things that defines an effective and efficient city. But you need to have interconnectedness. You need to have cities, a city that is well linked. When someone is moving from, let's say, Ginger Road, and they are going to Munyonyo, do you know they have to come into the city? There is no linkage, which would be an access. Cars shouldn't be able to move into the city in order to access Munyonyo. There would be a link that cuts cars from entering into the city, and they join the areas where they are going. And that was the plan, to create cities, organized cities rely on ring roads. When you have ring roads, they help to do mobility better. So if you have like this road, which is the flyover, it will not help much. So the first thing is to disabuse ourselves of foreigners coming in to dictate, to tell us how to solve some of these urban challenges. We must make sure that we bring solutions by ourselves. And the other thing which is linked to this is we must build local capacity. That road which is being done, the flyover, has been done today. Possibly it's going to be completed next year, maybe in late next year, and it will be open. The unfortunate bit is that 20 years from now, the Japanese will come back to repair, to assess whether that road is still strong enough. And 10 years later, they'll come to do major refurbishment of that road. That means the amount of money we are paying them, by the way, it's a loan of $120 million. That amount of money we will pay, and we shall continue to pay to service that road.
So
where
building...
is the Ugandan going to be in the next 30 or 50 years? If Ugandans cannot build capacity to build their own infrastructure, then we are lying at ourselves that we are going to develop as a country.
3.
Number 3, we must we must solve some of the problems that are very, very, very short term. One of them is that we must create really buses, BRT. We've had these taxis and they have served us for some time. The 14-seater taxis. And they were a model. Some of the cities actually in Africa adopted them based on Kampala experience. But that was when Kampala had less population. Today, with the daytime population of about 4 million, to transport 4 million people in taxis is the highest level of human efficiency. And why would we fail to put buses on the roads? It's the first point I talked about earlier, that lack of guidance, lack of leaders to determine and chart the way. There must be someone to hold the flag and say, we need buses right now. And we do not need to have buses that are going to be taxed or to bring revenue to government. That's wrong. Cities, most of the cities in Europe that have better urban transport systems do not tax their urban transport because it doesn't make money. You are creating a service because people are going to make money and pay taxes to government. If you tax the buses, I tried to do some computations on how much money a bus makes typically. If you buy a bus today at a cost of about 500 million Uganda shillings, and you put in costs of workers, you put in service and tires and etc., you'll find that that bus, to recoup the 500 million, will take it not less than 10 years, excluding the costs of maintenance. So they never make money actually. So government should make sure that they should never tax the buses. And that's why that has been one of the impediments. That government looks at these buses. If you look at these Pioneer and all these whatever, you see them how they have become ramshackled in the few years, and they are not being, their owners will not replace them. Because the cost, if you take the transport cost, 1,000 shillings from Ntienda to Kampala, how much money of that will you make to add up to 500 million, which you bought the bus, excluding the operation costs? So we must bring the buses into the city on all the major routes and systematically phase out the Kamunyes, the 14-seater buses. Phase out the border borders. It's very disheartening to see all these border borders in the city.
Some believe when you have buses, because they may not reach each destination, so a border is a must.
Because the people are trying to find solutions, local solutions, where the solution has failed to come. And there will always be solutions, local solutions, however rudimentary they are. And the borders are one such a solution, a rudimentary solution in this new era of age, where we could be able to design even the transport system using the IT. So you have these taxis, of course they employ a lot of people. You have the border borders, which employ a lot of people. Actually, statistics show there are about 200,000 border borders in the city currently. And people are still pouring in. Why? Because there is demand. The demand for transport will always be there because people will always move from place to place. How to move is the problem. And so there should be a sequence. Government, the central government, together with KCCA, should sit down and map out a strategy of how they will inform border borders over the next 10 or 20 years. We cannot afford to have 200,000 border borders. And out of those, you may be, you may need to know that they are the major cause of accidents because they are unregulated. They move left, right, and center without any guidance at all. And you are seeing people dying, and you are seeing the confusion, not that they are bringing in much development, no. The development of border borders is actually more regressing than progressing.
Well, Stuart, you have so much to talk about when it comes to urbanization in this country, but in the interest of time, I'll allow you to give me your parting shot, of course, regarding urbanization, and more so, I'm interested in what must be done, like you've just been alluding to some of these areas.
So the other thing which I think we need to consider is that we don't need expensive infrastructure. We need infrastructure that is based on our income as a poor country. If you are a poor man and you get 1 million shillings, You wouldn't want to spend the 1 million on buying just one expensive suit. You would rather go to Owino and buy some smaller, nice looking clothes, not too bad, but at least somewhere there. And that's the mistake we are making. That we create very expensive infrastructure in form of roads, in form of other infrastructure, and which is way beyond the country's income or budget. And that has drained us. Some time back I was making a presentation somewhere and I showed them. The Kampala-Entebbe Expressway costs officially $517 million for a 25-kilometer road. It's 25 kilometers going to Entebbe and 25 coming back to Kampala. So normally they say it's 50 kilometers, which is not the case. The real journey is 25 kilometers. It cost us $517 million. Now, do you know what? $517 million would have cleared all the roads in Wakiso district, all the access roads, up to a standard, paved, and some good grade. And do you know how much money that would mean for the country? It would be a lot of money revenues for the country if roads in Wakiso district and Mukono were done using that amount of money. Instead, we have only 25 kilometers for that piece of road. It's the same with this flyover project, 120 million for 1 kilometer of a road.
So we should cut
we must cut our
cloth according
to our design of the kind of cloth we want. So we must make sure that it is local contractors who are doing much of this work, because road construction is not rocket science.
Well, we can't exceed this point. Stuart, talking to you is really interesting. More so, Stuart is an expert that is on transportation and urban planning, and of course he's very passionate to see that we have organized, regulated, planned development in our country. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow, God willing.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Forget last season. Forget the oohs and ahs. Forget every moment that stole the show, because the real show is here on GoTV. It's the new season. It's action-packed and it's going to be non-stop football. With over 1,000 games from more than 7 leagues and cup competitions plus a World Cup. Make sure you get the best seat in the house this new football season. Get a GoCoder with 1 month of GoTV value for only 25,000 Uganda shillings and enjoy non-stop football. GoTV Uganda. Love it.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother, but I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.